Oh, hey, again, I just realized my mic was muted. Hey, thank you guys for all the love and support currently, what you guys have provided for me. I appreciate all that love that you guys have given me thus far. If you're here for your first time ever, please let me know where you're checking in from, what particular platform you're on, and how long you've been watching any of the content that I've been putting out and whatnot. Um, Also, don't be afraid to hit that like, share, comment, subscribe button. It helps out. It motivates me to want to do more and more of these particular type of things. And I got some things that I'm going to go over today. If you guys didn't get a chance to see the YouTube thumbnail that I put out, the thing that we're going to be, or some of the things we're going to be going over, is going to go over a little bit of defensive coverages. We're going to talk a little bit about the salary cap. The Ravens have 12 million in the salary right now, and we thinking, hey, what kind of moves we think we can make with that particular type of salary. Veteran safety is what you guys are talking about. A reunion with Jadeveon Clowney, you guys are talking about that as well. I wouldn't be opposed to either one of them, and I'll kind of allude to why I wouldn't be opposed to either one of them. Some other things that we're going to talk about. We'll talk a little bit about the stat prediction line for some of our playmakers for the Ravens. Now, I will forewarn you, it is kind of hard to predict defensive players. So I haven't done any defensive player stat lines or anything like that. And part of the reason for that is because just because they're a starter doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be on the field when it comes down to the snap count, because personnel matters. How the flow of the game matters, the situation matters, and that kind of dictate who's on the field and whatnot. Now, for the secondary, again, you're not going to sit there and say, "Hey, look, I'm going to try and forecast an interception or whatever it may be." The only thing I can go off of is what they've done historically. And some of our players in the secondary, being so young, don't have a lot of historical data when it comes down to what I think they would possibly do in the season and whatnot. But without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, if you guys are out there and you want me to know that you're here, please let me know if you can see my slides. Can you hear me? Can you see me? If you can't, please let me know so I can make sure I accommodate you. Therefore, I don't give you a whole hour of a YouTube video or a stream and you guys haven't been able to see me or hear me or see some of the slides that I'm going to put up. All right. So first things first, give me a thumbs up again if you're here and you can see this, or just let me know, hey, I can see the slides or whatever it may be, because I understand it's different. Some of you guys may be watching on your phone. Some of you guys may be watching on your tablet. Some of you guys may be watching on your actual computer. Again, if you can't see me or hear me, please let me know, and don't just sit there wondering what the heck I'm talking about and whatnot. So first part of this, or what we're going to get to, is we're going to talk about some defensive coverages and whatnot. And this is not to insult anybody's intelligence whatsoever. Reason why I'm doing this is because I feel like, hey, not a lot of fans, and not just Raven fans, fans in general, of the NFL or even college or high school or whatever you're a fan of when it comes down to football, I just don't believe that all of us understand, like, hey, the basics when it comes down to coverages and whatnot. For the most part, we think everything is a man coverage, and we think that's what it is when it comes down to, hey, you line up across from me, and then I'm assuming that it's a man coverage of some sort. And that's not always the case, depending upon the situation, the scheme, what's going on when it comes down to, hey, are we winning the game? Are we losing the game? And so forth. Or do I have my starters in there? Do I not have my starters in there? Is this a rookie? Is this a player that's playing out of position? All those things kind of matter, because my defensive calls are going to be called to kind of protect my defense, and not so much of protecting the player. It's the actual not compromising the actual defensive scheme or the call in that particular situation. So, all right. So first slide, we're going to go over is cover zero. Cover zero is basically saying, hey, look, there is no particular zone that we're covering or whatnot. What we're trying to do is, we call cover zero man. We believe that we can man up the receivers that they have, And as you guys can see, you have the cornerback that's on the linebacker. You got the free safety. I mean, you got the cornerback that's on the receiver. You got the free safeties on the receiver. The strong safety that's on the receiver, and then you got the cornerback that's on the receiver, manned up. Okay, a man across the board. And why we call a particular defense like this is because, again, we believe there are no disadvantages for us in the secondary. So we're going to basically try and maximize the box. As you guys see, the inside of the free safety and the strong safety, we call that particular area in there within the lineman, we call that the box, about 4 yards deep on either side of the offensive lineman and the defensive lineman. And we basically saying, hey, look, we are going to take our 7 guys against their 7 guys, their 5 linemen, the tailback, and the quarterback. And we're going to go 7-on-7 type of football when it comes down to the box. And we're going to go head on, hat versus hat. And that's good in a sense, but nobody can lose. That's the kicker about this. The thing about this particular thing is you look at it and you say, hey, look, we're really trying to stop the run without giving up a big play as well. But I will tell you, if this is the case, you have to basically make sure everybody is manned up across the board. I'm talking about in their back pockets, because if not, as you see, there is no middle of the field safety. There is no middle of the field safety. There is nobody over the top, and you're heavily exposed if you get beat as a defensive back. Listen, this is a big play waiting to happen. Okay, it's a big play waiting to happen. Now, the really good part about this is you can get pressure. You can get extreme pressure. Here's the reason why you can get extreme pressure, because I can send my Will linebacker. I can send my Sam linebacker. I can send both of them, right? I send both of them. Now we're talking that the tackles, both tackles are not gonna spring out wide and try and pick these guys up. So that leaves the tailback on the island of basically saying, who do I get? Which one do I pick up? So the tackle, if the tackle sees the Will, the left tackle sees the Will, that particular Will linebacker is blocked. But now, guess what? They got to account for the defensive end too, because if he picks up the linebacker, now the defensive end is coming free unless the guard slides or guard slides over. As you can see, nose tackle comes free. So a lot of havoc can be caused if you're not sound in picking up blitzes as they come to you. And same thing with the backside. If the Sam linebacker gets home, now we're leaving a running back trying to block a linebacker. And we know, just like we know in the NFL, depending on what linebacker that is, that's probably not going to happen. That linebacker is probably going to get home and put pressure on the quarterback or even sack the quarterback. So this particular coverage is called. It could be in the red zone. It could be, again, like I said, it's just a key down, 3rd and 8 or some of that nature. And we felt like, hey, we don't believe these guys can beat us deep to get the first down or whatever it may be. And what we're trying to do is trying to cause a quick pass. If we cause a quick pass and we believe that, hey, we're there, we can make the tackle. And this particular defense is designed for that. Not one of those ones you're going to stay in for the whole entire game and whatnot. Because again, if you stay in this in the whole entire game and whatnot, people are going to start doing double moves on you or combo routes and so forth. And then when you start to get the combo routes and the double moves, that's when this stuff starts to get really, really dicey, because now we're talking, the cornerback can get rubbed off of his man. And then next thing you know, now we didn't make a banjo call or a trainer call. So guess what? This particular wide receiver is running wide open because we didn't make that particular call, or we didn't check out of cover 0 and check to something different. All right. So that was the first one. And I promise you, if you guys got any questions or anything like that, I don't have any issue explaining anything to you guys. Just let me know what your comments are, so I can basically make sure I get every particular question answered, should there be some. All right. So moving right along to the next coverage. All right. So the next coverage will be cover 1. So cover 1 is almost identical to cover 0. It's just that now you got a middle of the field safety. And the reason for playing this is because, hey, okay, all right, uh, we basically say, hey, we can take away the receivers themselves. However, if there's a 50-50 ball that's going to be thrown, I want to basically have 2 versus 1. And this is where this particular defense comes into play. But as you see, inside of the box, right, this is where stuff starts to get really, really shaky. Because if you count them up, if you count them up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we got 6. We got 5 linemen, a tailback, and then we got a quarterback. So that's 6 versus 7. This is one of those things to where, hey, okay, look, all right, man, if we decide to run the quarterback or whatever it may be, that means somebody's gonna have to come off of their guy if we run cover one man. We don't want the free safety to come down into the box and play the quarterback. Reason being is because if we do that, we lose the over the top. So it's no longer cover one man. It's no longer cover one man. Okay. If we keep the free safety over the top, we can play man and still have help over the top if somebody get beat. But you gotta make sure this is communicated, because if it's not communicated too many times, this DB will come up and press one of these receivers or get all up in their Kool-Aid, and then next thing you know, hey, I don't have over the top help like I had. So we got to make sure that, hey, okay, look, this free safety does not bite on any kind of RPO or whatever it may be, unless we know the ball is for sure is in the running back's hand and then bounced out to the left or to the right, and then that's when that free safety could then turn around and make the play. Because then what happens is if the running back runs to outside or either side, the safety and the will become the force players. So to basically make sure that, hey, okay, I don't want anything outside of me. I want him to cut it back up. If he cuts it back up in this particular alley, that allows my free safety to run the alley and make the play. Okay. And vice versa on the other side. The strong safety comes out, makes a nice little pocket right here, or holds the edge. Don't let him get outside, and then the free safety comes and run the alley. If the free safety doesn't run the alley, you got the Sam linebacker that can run the alley as well if he's occupied, and then he can basically play cleanup duty. Same thing with if they run to the outside. For some odd reason, they do get to the outside. Now the free safety becomes the fourth player to force them back inside to the corner or to the strong safety as they're they're in pursuit. And it works on either side. Free safety springs, if the running back springs out to the left, and for some odd reason, the wheel and the cornerback get trapped, pushed out inside, the free safety takes the angle, pushes it back, or forces it back in, and then now the cornerback and the wheel linebacker should be able to rally to the ball and make the play. All right. So the downside to it is that, hey, you got to go man and run everywhere with the particular receivers. But the plus to it is you have over the top help. And then the other thing about it is you can't pass anything off. You can't pass in, because if you have to start passing things off, now you're changing the run fits. You're changing run fits when it comes down to, if this Mike linebacker, let's say H goes into motion to the right, now you're changing the run fits if Mike bumps over with them. Some teams will say, hey, okay, look, all right, it depends on who I have in my will linebacker. This particular player may be a hybrid player. So if he's a hybrid player, so then what could possibly happen is that, hey, the free safety a bump down, a rock with them, a bump down. You can call it whatever you want to call it. The free safety bumps down, and then the will linebacker will go back and take a cover one man in the zone over the top. They'll basically have over the top. Now, this is key, though. You got to have a hybrid type of linebacker safety mix. You can't have a guy that can't run back here playing safety over the top, and he has stiff hips, or he's not able to cover ground, because now you're basically asking for it. And teams will pick up on this and basically say, hey, okay, look, all right, this guy can't really transition. So they'll basically look here. If this was to happen, your free safety comes down on 3. And then now you're basically saying, okay, look, we'll give you a fake over here to the trip side. And then all I want is a whole shot over here to my Z receiver, because I believe if he gets past your cornerback, your free safety is never going to be able to come over the top and cover that. So All right, let me look around, make sure I don't have no particular comment. Okay, good, no comments. All right. All right, so next one will be cover two. All right, so cover two is just like what we could imagine. Cover two is with two safeties, but some of the responsibilities are different now for the cornerbacks and the linebackers. So if you're playing with three linebackers, basically what happens is everybody has a hook. That's a hook when it comes down to weak, strong, and middle hook. So when it comes down to the hook is basically anywhere from it could be 6 to 10 yards, up to probably 11 yards. That's the area that they're going to be covering when it comes down to wide receivers trying to run digs or tight ends trying to run digs behind the coverage and whatnot. And now the other thing about this too is they can't automatically just vacate what they have in front of them because you gotta basically don't want to create a slant window. Let's say for the H or the Y or even the X. If the X tries to come over or the Z tries to come over and run a slant, that's what the responsibility is of the wheel and the Sam linebackers is to take away low hole first, or basically you robbing it. And then once you rob it, now you get back into your actual hook zone would be, again, like I said, anywhere from the 6 to the 11 yards. And then the cornerbacks will have what we call the curl and flats. So the flats is obviously a couple yards, behind the line of scrimmage or beyond the line of scrimmage. It can be two on each side, two forward or two backwards when it comes down to the flats. Now, what we always tell our defensive backs and what defensive backs should always understand is we never just automatically in cover two zone run to the flats. The reason why we don't do that is we run to the flats because now we have a concept. You have a concept what we call smash is basically a hitch route to be on for the Z, and then a corner route will be for the H, right? So you set yourself up for failure if you just automatically jump to the flats with that Z or that X. If they just run to the flats or they run a hitch or whatever, and you just automatically run to it as a cornerback. Now you set yourself up for that corner route that's coming behind you. So what happens is we basically say, okay, look, all right, keep eyes on the flat, pop your feet, make sure you get eyes on two, see what two is doing. If two goes out, my eyes immediately come to number one, come to one and see what one is doing. Reason being is because if I go with the H that goes out or either the Y that goes out, again, it's the same concept. So I go here and I take that particular H. Now I leave Z coming wide open into what we call a hole shot right behind me on towards the sideline. So I got to make sure that, hey, okay, look, I got to keep him honest, see what he's going to the flats, but I got to see where I'm most dangerous or most vulnerable when it comes down to the coverage. And this coverage, in cover two zone, where I'm most vulnerable is the hole shots right behind the cornerbacks on either side. So I got to make sure that, hey, okay, look, I take the curl window, and keep the curl window closed, and then if they throw it to the flats, now I can rally to it. And hopefully, if they stay in the flats at 2 yards, hopefully is a throw that's behind them or some of that nature, and I can rally and basically get them down 2 yards up the field, or even right at the line of scrimmage, depending on what kind of route it is. As far as these zones and whatnot, again, you when it comes down to your zones, you don't want to run across the field as the linebackers because it's a zone. Because if I'm the wheel linebacker and I run across the field and I basically vacate that particular zone, that particular hook zone that I have, okay, and then on the top. When it comes down to the safeties, we basically typically like to have them on the hash, depending on what hash the ball is on. If we're in the middle of the field, they're right there on the hash. If we're on a particular hash, uh, if it was the left hash, this was the left hash, the free safety would be in the inside of the left hash, and then the strong safety would be to the left side of the right hash as you're looking at it on the field. And what we do is we basically trying to divide up the field as much as we can when it come down to the halves for the cover two zone. And cover two man is the exact same thing. Well, not the exact same thing. It's the exact same alignment, but they don't have the same responsibilities. Now we're putting our linebackers in coverage. when it comes down to man. And if we put man, our linebackers in man, this is where teams kind of like this because again, typically your linebackers aren't the best coverage guys. Okay, just being honest with you. It's a if you have linebackers that can cover, that's great. But most of the time, your linebacker is not going to be able to cover wide receivers for long periods of time. If they are able to cover wide receivers for long periods of time, what happens is offensive coordinators are smart now where they start to move those guys in those particular spots. So my little shiftier guys, I put them in the slot and I put them against your linebackers who, oh, by the way, they're probably not the best guys, but they are a little bit quicker normally than the Mike. When it comes down to it, Mike is mostly your thumper type of linebacker. They can do some coverage, but that's not their expertise. Their expertise is basically moving stuff or shedding blocks and being able to tackle pretty good, and also can you can read and direct people or get yourself in those particular spots to make those tackle for losses and whatnot. So with the linebackers, again, don't run across the field. If you're in cover two man, that's your guy. Wherever he goes, that's your guy. Okay, wherever that particular guy runs, if he runs to the bathroom, you right there outside the door waiting on him when he come out, and you see if he got the ball in his hands. That's what it is. Okay, with the mic responsibility would be whoever has the ball, the particular ball carrier. So let's say, hey, we go cover two man, right? If we go cover two man, and let's say, hey, the running back leaks out. Running back leaks out. Now we basically say, hey, okay, look, Mike linebacker has the running back, and then if it's a run, the quarterback takes it. Now the safety comes down to help. Safety comes down backside to help, and the quarterback tries to get out of there. Same thing with vice versa. Hey, Mike, running back runs here to the outside. Uh, the Mike take first thing out. And then if there's a retrace from the quarterback running back side, free safety now comes down and helps out in the particular box. Hopefully, we never get to that particular situation. But if you do, the free safety or the strong safety is the force player for the quarterback to force him back into the defensive end or the Mike or the nose tackle or whoever it may be that may still be in the box. Okay. All right. So as we can see, the cover two man and the cover two zone do have their own weaknesses. Playing man up with safety, with linebackers on number twos. Those number two wide receivers could be pretty good wide receivers, and if they're pretty good wide receivers, meaning speed wise, now we're asking a Sam linebacker to cover a guy down the field into a deep out or whatever it may be, because what happens is you can have some concepts to where, hey, I take this X and run him across the field, and I want to put your Sam linebacker on an island by himself, and then now that Sam linebacker can't deal with the Y, okay, and vice versa, other side, the same thing as well. So again, you just got to make sure, like, hey, if you call these particular type of cover two mans, or we see these cover two mans, we got to make sure that, hey, okay, we have the right personnel. When we have the right personnel out there, now I believe, like, hey, okay, look, this is a win-win for us. I don't expect the Ravens to do a whole lot of cover two man. Here's the reason why. Because again, like I said, there have been times to where the slot receivers is their number one guy, meaning, hey, he's probably the fastest, probably has the biggest catch radius, probably can catch in traffic, yada, yada, yada. And so I just feel like, hey, if you put a guy like, nothing against Trent Simpson, but if you put Trenton Simpson and you tell him to go defend a wide receiver like Zay Flowers, it's probably going to be barbecue chicken, just being honest. Okay. So if that is the case, we got to make sure when we see these things on film, we understand the difference between a cover two zone and a cover two man. Okay. So let me see if we got any questions or any comments. Okay, no comments. Okay, awesome. All right, so moving along. All right, so cover three. So cover three zone, right? Cover three zone is exactly like it sounds. You got three people covering the deep parts of the field. And basically, all it is you got, if it was cover three, you got a middle of the field safety, free safety, and free safety will play between the hashes. This is also if we're in the middle of the field. The cornerback will take left hash all the way over. Left cornerback will take left hash all the way to the sideline, left sideline. The right cornerback will take right hash all the way up to the right sideline. And we basically divide it up in those three particular zones. And then we have anything, what we call them is deep thirds. We have those particular deep thirds. Everybody else is no matter how we chop it up. First, if we are doing this, they are basically have run responsibilities. Everybody else, meaning these four guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then these four, 1, 2, 3, 4. Those four guys, all four of those guys, all 8 of those guys have what we call run responsibility first, right? And what I mean by this is that, hey, so teams will put you in doubles like this, and they'll make you think it's a pass. And they have a pass responsibility, but if this turns out to be, hey, look, this guy is coming up to block the wheel linebacker, the Mike linebacker, the will linebacker becomes the fourth guy. The Mike guy comes down to make the play. Should come down to make the play. Same thing on the other side. Okay. So although we call it as a pass coverage, there are run responsibilities tagged to this particular coverage. So as you guys see it, no matter where they go, somebody's basically going to be the force, and somebody's going to basically have to run the alley to make the play. Okay, no matter how it works in the cover three zone. The good thing about the cover three zone is you can kind of scheme some stuff up. So for instance, you got the hook, you got the hook players with the Mike and the Sam, but then you also have the curl flat guys with the Will and the strong safety. So again, these guys kind of stay there and almost like it's an apex on between 1 and 2 on both sides. So they kind of apex them and say, okay, look, all right, do I have anybody go to the flat? I'm not jumping that flat right off rip, just like I said, because what's happening, these cornerbacks are bailing into their particular zones. These cornerbacks are bailing into those zones, and then only the time they're going to come down, or the safety or the cornerback is going to come down, is the ball has been thrown, and now we're rallying to the ball. That's the only time. Most of the times, these guys are going to come in, be in their stances, and they're going to bail. You're going to try and get the 10 to 12 yards as quick as possible. That's mostly what their responsibilities are in the cover three zone. Okay. All right. So as you have this cover three zone, right, you got to make sure that, hey, everybody understands what their particular jobs are. Because what happens is, again, if let's just say, hey, okay, this particular Mike and Sam linebackers get caught up in trying to run out and help cover the flats or to the curl for some odd reason, now we vacate that hook zone area. We don't want that. We don't want to vacate that. So what happens is, let's say they give us screen action over here. So Z comes down trying to block Will, right? Z comes down trying to block Will, and then H goes out here for a bubble screen, right? So all Will needs to do is get outside of Z, and stay there. Get outside of Z, stay there, and then so as he stay outside of Z, if the ball is thrown, now I'm gonna try and make the play, but I'm forcing it back in, right? So what I mean by that is, if I catch the ball here, if H catches the balls outside, while Z's trying to block, H trying to get back underneath the block, and then as he tries to do that, now Mike should come down and lay the boom boom pow on him. Okay, so again, we got to remember, until the ball is thrown, that's the only time we vacate our particular zone, because again, it's a zone. Okay, if we start to vacate things because we thought something or we seen something, then now we are having situations to where we're putting ourselves in a disadvantage where the left side of the field is open, and then especially if we got these three guys over the top that's bailing, you create a keyhole shot again right here behind them where the Mike leaves, or even if it was Sam, where he leaves, you create a opening. So now it's a catch, and then there's a bunch of yards after the catch because you left a zone wide open. Okay. All right. So again, any kind of questions whatsoever? Okay. No questions so far. Cool. All right. So moving along to the last defensive coverage that we're going to talk about. All right. So this one is what we call cover four zone or quarters, if you will. Some people call it quarters and whatnot. So for cover four is basically the same type of defense when it comes down to a cover three. The only difference is you got another person. So now you basically have numbers to the hash, bottom of the numbers or on the numbers to the hash, hash to the middle of the hash, uh, I'm sorry, right middle to the hash, and then you got numbers to the hash over here. That's in the rough part of it is what they're responsible for. And again, they're all in their drop. Okay. So if it's quarters, they're in a drop. Okay, if it's covered for a zone, you kind of like in these particular areas, and you're basically watching to make sure the ball is not thrown to that particular spot. So that's the real big difference when it comes down to it. Like the reason why I say quarters, because quarters basically you're running up the field. The four zone is basically saying, hey, look, we are basically trying to get a stop. It's a third and six or third and seven or whatever it may be. What we're trying to do is get home with our pass rush, our four pass rushes that we got, right? If you can get home with those four pass rushes, this defense works really good for you because if you don't sack the quarterback, you get the ball out of their hand, you get the ball out of their hand, you get a quick throw. If you get a quick throw, we're talking, if it's third and four, third and five, third and six, whatever it may be, nothing crazy long. If you get into this particular defense and you can get your pressure on them, now we're talking, hey, the ball comes out pretty quick. And as you guys can see, every zone I throw it to, I have two people in the vicinity of the area of where they're going to throw the ball. So it should be a quick rally to the ball wherever it's thrown. So all right. So I'm gonna change out my slides. If anybody have any questions, please feel free to let me know. If you got any questions, say them in the comments, wherever you're watching, and then we'll go from there. Okay. All right. All right, and let me change out my slides. So this next slide deck, we're going to talk about stat predictions for the Ravens season and whatnot. Like I said, if you guys just watched the defensive coverages that I went over just now, please let me know if you got any kind of questions. Feel free to message me on YouTube or Facebook or even Twitter, and then I'll basically be able to go back through with you on these particular defenses and whatnot. But before I go, some of the things that you can do with these defenses, right? You can kind of combine them, right? So you can kind of say, hey, look, I want to play like a cover six or a cover eight, and cover six and cover eight is basically saying, hey, look, I'm gonna play cover two on one side, and then I'm gonna play cover four on the other two. And basically, cover four basically be or in those particular zones that I was telling you guys about. You have the cornerback and the free safety in that particular, or you can mix it up however you want to mix it up. And they can drop to that cover four zone, the left, I'm going to cover six or cover eight, depending on what you call. So if you call cover six, to the right of your coverage as you're looking at it will be the cover two. If you call cover eight, to the left of your coverage will be the cover two. And the difference is wherever your two is, you have a curl flats player underneath your two. So you'll have your one guy that'll have half of the field. He'll basically be on the hash, and he'll have everything outside. And that the low hole player will be curl flats, okay. And then everybody else will play their normal coverage and cover six. So basically, be like the cover three, but then you'll just have two cover three for the linebacker responsibilities, and then you'll have two guys over the top that'll have the quarters, and that'll make it a cover six or cover eight, depending on where your cover two guy lines up. The one thing that I wanted to talk a little bit about was the cover seven for the Baltimore Ravens, based off who they picked in the particular draft. So I don't know if you guys can see my board or not, but if you can, please let me know you can see it. If you can't see it, I'm gonna try and use these little magnets so I can kind of give you a good picture about this or what I'm talking about. All right, so right here, I gave you. I didn't give you the defensive line. I'm sorry, defensive line. Trench Warriors, don't beat me up. I'm so sorry I didn't put the D line on here. But I'm trying to highlight the coverages. And so cover seven is basically the three safety look, three high safety looks. As you guys can see, the blue ones are the three safety looks. So you'll have free safety, strong safety, then you have what we call a star or a Viking or a Raven or whatever you want to call it. You can call it a hammer. It doesn't matter. Whichever name you want to come up with, you can get creative to call it that. And basically, what happens is you see you got the cover three right here, and then you'll basically have as you see in the underneath of a cover four, these guys will have those particular responsibilities. So you'll have curl flat guy here, curl flat guy here, and you have two hook players right here. Okay, and that along together, all that together makes for the cover seven. Again, the weaknesses to a cover seven is that, hey, okay, look, if people start to run on you, now we're talking, hey, people got to make sure they understand their run fits if they have them attached to them and whatnot. And if you do have them, when it comes down to your run fits or whatnot, you got to make sure you stay disciplined. And what I mean by that, for instance, as you guys can see, these particular guys right here. So let's say, hey, it's not a pass, right? These particular guys here will be C gap guys. The two green guys. All right, the two green guys can be the C gap players, right? Or depending on who it is, they may say, okay, look, we may run blitz. Okay, if we run a blitz, this particular guy linebacker could go out to the C gap, right? And then now this particular cornerback could now come down and take B, be responsible for B. Okay, so it's again, you depend on how creative people want to be when they call certain things and whatnot without sacrificing their particular defenses and whatnot. So, all right, so if anybody got any questions, please feel free to hit me up. If you don't, please feel free to hit me up afterwards or whatever it may be, because you don't want to ask a question while we're streaming. I will try and get to all the questions that come about, whether it be YouTube, whether it be Facebook, or whether it be Twitter. And also, as you guys see at the bottom, that's going by. If you're here for the first time, please smash the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And then if you can comment, let me know where you are checking in from, whether it be YouTube, whether it be Twitter, or whether it be Facebook. And if you got any kind of ideas or anything that you think I need to go over, please let me know. I'll try and get to those videos as well. All right. So we're going to move out of this and we're going to go to some stat predictions. So these stat predictions, right? So myself, what I have always have tried to do was be real when it come down to these particular predictions. So I'm not going to do the whole Madden thing and say, hey, look, Lamar Jackson throwing 5,000 yards. He's going to have 55 touchdowns and no interceptions. No, absolutely not. I'm just not going to do that. So I'm a big law of averages type of guy. What I mean by that is that's a good baseline for me. And when it comes down to the baseline, that's where I'm going to start from. But then based off how we play or who we're playing, and what their defenses look like, this is what kind of help dictate, hey, do I think they're going to be above this particular average or they're going to be lower than this particular average? So first things first, just to kind of read you guys into how do I come up with these particular numbers, because I didn't just come up with them out of the blue, right? So I took year 2023 and year 2024. Those are the years of Todd Monken. I didn't put anything with Greg Roman in here. So I'm sorry, all you Greg Roman enthusiasts. I'm sorry if I upset you or whatnot. But I did put in what Todd Monken has done at the office of helm right now. And it's pretty eye-opening when it comes down to the difference of where we were when it comes down to the offense and the strides that they took and whatnot. Because as you guys can see, in 2023, the Baltimore Ravens had a total of 1,076 plays and they accumulated 6,296 yards. Lamar, not Lamar, the quarterback position was 328, for 494, 328 of 494, 27 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. The running back room was responsible for 541 carries, 2,661 yards, and amassed 26 touchdowns. In 2024, we had lesser plays. But had more yards. So what does that mean, right? What does that mean? We have the potential to really be great when it comes down to the passing game. And if we can kind of keep that same energy, right, and do not force anything, and kind of just say, hey, look, when the opportunity presents itself, we got to capitalize on it. I feel like the Ravens could kind of get closer to 2024 versus 2023. I just don't see them really reverting all the way back to a 25, 27 touchdown in the passing game. And I just don't see them not being able to run the ball like they've been able to run the last 2 years. With 2024, 1,055 plays, 7,224 yards. The quarterback room was responsible for 308 completions on 477 attempts, 41 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. Um, the running back room was 554 carries, 3,189 yards, 21 touchdowns. Again, I think the Ravens get closer to the 2024 versus 2023, somewhere kind of in between. So if we were to just average things out, right, and if we average them out, the Ravens average 1,065 plays. They would average 547 runs. They would average 2,925 yards with 24 touchdowns. If we did it for passes, it would be 323 completions for 485 attempts. It'd be 34 touchdowns, and we'll average about 5 interceptions if we were to do just law of averages. Okay, and again, that could be something that the Ravens could end up doing, being close to the average versus above average. Okay, all right. So for the individual players, this is where it gets really interesting. And the reason why I say get really interesting, because you look at a player like Lamar Jackson, the first year in that system. I don't know if it was the lack of dynamic players, the lack of familiarity with a time market system, or whatever it may be. But you can see the difference in 2024 when it comes down to the passing numbers, right? And what I mean by passing numbers, we're talking about the touchdowns. Because again, the yards are not that big of a difference. The yards is about 500 yards difference, right? But as you can see, he only completed 9 more passes, right? He attempted 17 more passes, but you got 500 yards and you got 17 more touchdowns and 3 less interceptions. So if we can get closer to the 2024 Lamar Jackson, listen to me. This bodes well for what I'm going to talk to you guys about when it comes down to the stats. And if we're talking about where I would like to see Lamar Jackson, where I would like to see Lamar Jackson, if we can get him around the 320 completions out of 475 attempts or 465 attempts, anywhere between those. And then the yardage can be anywhere from 3,900 to about 4,200, and about 39 touchdowns, passing touchdowns. And then the interceptions really don't matter. If we can get that passing wise, I think, hey, okay, look, this bodes well for the Baltimore Ravens based off how their schedule is aligned and what we're going to see from the Ravens when it comes down to their schedule. The rushing, as you guys can see, anywhere from 140 attempts to 900 yards and about 5 touchdowns. That's average for Lamar Jackson. If we get that particular stat prediction from him, again, I think he's highly effective if we're able to do that when it comes down to, hey, Lamar Jackson doesn't have to eat up a bulk of the rushing yards that we're supposed to have as a team. I just feel like if we're able to spread it around, especially having Keaton Mitchell back, I think we're able to spread it around. Not so much to take the ball completely out of Lamar's hand when it comes down to running, but give him some of those yards. And if we can give him some of those yards, then we can bring Lamar Jackson down to about 500 yards and 5 touchdowns, and we give Keaton Mitchell 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. I'm okay with that. I'm good with that. I have no issue. The more people touch the ball that get in the end zone, the merrier and the better for us in the long run when it comes down to being able to make a run to the Super Bowl. All right. So next up is Mr. Henry. In 2023, obviously, I know he wasn't with us, but he carried the rock 280 times, accumulated 1,167 yards, and had 12 touchdowns. In 2024, massive uh, pickup for us. In that pickup, I know he heard a lot of the noise of, hey, him being washed, him being over the hill, looking for him to slow down. He had a lot of tread that was off of his tires and whatnot. And I think that was probably his extra motivation, along with, hey, man, the guy can still run the doggone football. Look, to me, I think Derrick Henry can go as long as Derrick Henry feels like he wants to go. He could be one of those type of backs to say, hey, look, I'm gonna come in and just play for the love of the game and get 600 yards on 200 carries and kind of grind out my career. I just don't think he's that type of back to do that, though. I think once if he wins the Super Bowl, I think that's pretty much all right. I'm done. I'm good. I achieved what I need to achieve because he has a milestone coming up. I think he's going to crack the top 10. I think it's 1,300 and like 16 yards or something, 1,316 yards, something like that, or maybe 1,386. It's something where along those lines to where, hey, if he cracked those numbers, now we're talking, hey, he's top 10 all time in the running back when it comes down to yards. And I just think for me, that would be a huge accomplishment for him to have that done and then to win the Super Bowl. If he was to win the Super Bowl in the next 2 years or 3 years, I just feel like, hey, that'd be a perfect time for him to ride off into the sunset, knowing that, hey, I'm forever etched in the history books, and I don't have to look back on my career and regret anything. All right. In 2024, he had 325 carries, 1,921 yards, 16 touchdowns. I think he should have had a little bit more touchdowns. Probably should have had 20 touchdowns based off of some of the stuff we were doing early on in the season, playing around with this man carries and stuff like that. I don't know if we were trying to preserve him or whatnot, but we can't play around with his carries like that. So if we're trying to get in the end zone, I see no reason why we shouldn't force feed it to this guy as many chances as we can get to get him in the end zone to keep him happy and juiced up in the offense as much as possible. Because the more we do it, the more teams are going to bite. Hey, man, Derrick Henry is on the field. We think Derrick Henry is getting the ball. And then, lo and behold, you can start to pull out new wrinkles. Will we see the jump pass this year? Hopefully, we see the jump pass sometime in the playoffs or somewhere along the line of the season. We see the jump pass from Derrick Henry. Who's it going to be to? I don't know. I wouldn't have an issue jump passing it to anybody except probably Lamar. Everybody else, I'm fair game. Jump pass to whoever else you want to jump pass to. Just probably, I don't want to see Lamar Jackson running out for passes. Even though it would be sweet video game type of stuff, I just don't want to put our franchise guy out there trying to run around and catch passes. So, all right. So for Derrick Henry, an average for him would be 303 carries, 1,544 yards, and 14 touchdowns. If he gets anywhere near these particular type of numbers, again, this is where we kind of stay on the same route as we had in 2024 when it comes down to the offensive production that we had. If he stay and keep those type of numbers, I think we can kind of see the same type of results because I just don't see the Ravens kind of emulating the same type of offense and having the same type of production and not reaping the benefits from it when it comes down to wins and losses. All right. So moving on to Zay Flowers, as you can see in 2023, 77 catches on 108 targets, 858 yards for 5 touchdowns. In 2024, kind of the same type of numbers, had 4 touchdowns. But as you can see, with those extra additional 8 targets, he got about 200 more yards. He got 201 more yards. Okay. I will tell you, if Zay Flowers had any particular game where he had 8 targets and 201 yards, I don't think anybody would ever complain about wide receivers ever again in Baltimore Ravens history, because I don't think that's been done when it comes down to from the wide receiver spot for the Baltimore Ravens. So, but yeah, if he can come in and get us again, he get his 112 targets. I'm okay with his 112 targets. If he can get anywhere 900 yards and 5 touchdowns, I'm okay with what Zay Flowers is doing. I believe he's going to have a little bit more production than that, because I believe if he stays healthy, he could have probably been a 1,300 yard wide receiver for the Baltimore Ravens if he stays healthy throughout the playoffs. So, all right, and next slide. We're gonna go to. All right, so Rashad Bateman. Rashad Bateman, for me, has doubled his production when it comes down to the yards. And as you can see, he only got 16 more targets in 24 versus 2023. But where he really thrived was getting in the end zone, and that is huge, because now we're talking alleviating pressure from the next 2 guys that we'll talk about with Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews. And as you have more and more guys, not so much as just being targeted, we're talking about guys that are actually catching the ball week in and week out. And the more you give to Zay and Rashad Bateman in or around the red zone, you kind of take the pressure away from these 2 guys, because again, when you get to the red zone, most people say, hey, the tight end threat is the biggest threat in the red zone. And the reason for that is because, again, a lot of guys come up. A lot of the linebackers draw the responsibility of the tight end. The linebackers draw the responsibility of the tight end. Then guess what? These particular guys are matchup problems for most tight ends in the NFL. Okay. So again, if you have wide receivers that can go get the ball red zone, now we're talking, hey, look, I can go 12 personnel, I can go 13 personnel, and it still be fine, because these guys can go do their job because of the pressure has been alleviated off of them based off what our other wide receivers or our other receiving core people have been doing. All right, so Isaiah Likely, kind of around the same type of numbers. I would like to see him get a lot more targets than what he's been getting. And the reason why I say that a lot more targets, I'm talking, 10, 15 more targets. And the reason why I say that the 10 or 15 more targets is that, as you can see, the consistency is there. Same thing with Mark Andrews. If he can stay the same way he is, or he can get, again, 8 to 10 more targets, it just spells success for our offense. And the numbers are there. The reason why I say the numbers are there, because we are close to 500 passing attempts, and we get about low threes in the completion percentage. So I feel like, hey, if we get to, let's say, instead of that 477, let's say we get to 495. If we get to 495 and those 18 passes or whatever that's extra, if we can start to divvy those up, 5 here, 6 there, 8 there, whatever it may be, I just feel like that's 2 or 3 more touchdowns. And we get 2 or 3 more touchdowns. Now we're talking about, hey, wait a minute, these actual playmakers are actually catching touchdowns, and they're not just names. And if we're not just names, now we're talking, hey, when teams are scouting the Ravens or teams are planning to play the Ravens, now they're saying, hey, man, we got to take away everything instead of take away Rashad Bateman, instead of just take away Mark Andrews, and we'll live with everything else. So I just feel like, hey, the more we have receiving targets in the game plan and getting stuff and being successful, I just feel like it's going to be harder to defend the Ravens, especially with the likes of Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, and Keaton Mitchell in the backfield. I just believe if we are able to continue to do what we're doing with a healthy Keaton Mitchell, I just believe, again, we could really do some stuff when it comes down to the offensive production. All right. So, Case, this particular question was floating around Twitter, and people, was asking, and I just had to think of, as long as I've been a fan of the Ravens, is this the best possible roster or the best roster for the Baltimore Ravens? There's some teams that came to mind. 2023 came to mind. 2015 or 2016, I think it is, with Darryl Smith at the linebacker spot. That team came to mind, even though they didn't finish the way we wanted them to finish. The Elvis Dumerville team, those teams came to mind. The 2000 Ravens came to mind. The 2012 roster came to mind and whatnot. And I was looking at it, I was trying to find, like, hey, where is our particular weakness? If we are 100% healthy come January, even into February, I had to give it up and say, hey, this probably would be the best Ravens team roster wise we've seen ever. And here's the reason why I would say that is because we got some coaches into our building that are they're a little bit of senior coaches, and they're going to come in and they're going to do their thing, and they're going to kind of help out. We got some guys with some head coach experience. That's huge. Having a former head coach in your building, not even as just a position coach or a coordinator, we're talking about a senior defensive specialist, a senior offensive specialist. That is huge, having the head coach and former head coach in your building as a coach to help develop a position or develop a side of the ball or whatever it may be. That is huge when it comes down to drawing up game plans, preparing for the other team, preparing your guys for certain things to watch for and whatnot. That is huge. Okay. And then the next part to that is, if I look at the offense versus the defense, most of the teams that the Ravens have had that made a significant run were either offensive heavy and kind of defense, or had a decent defense, but they had some holes somewhere. They had some guys that kind of outperformed themselves or what they were supposed to be and whatnot, and vice versa. You had some teams that was crazy good on defense, but then the offense was kind of like, all right, we're struggling to get 10 points. So again, with this particular team, what I think is going to be the difference is the defense. If that defense gets anywhere near the turnovers that we are expecting the Ravens to have, meaning, hey, I think the Ravens had 31 turnovers in 2023. And I think they had 17 last year. So if we can get, anywhere on the average, 24 takeaways, I think if we get those 24 takeaways, now we can really confirm this to be true, that this is, in fact, the best Ravens roster ever when it comes down to coaches, offensive, defensive. Now, the only question mark would be is what is special teams going to look like? And I'm not just talking about field goal and extra point kicks. We're talking about covering kickoffs. We're talking about covering punts, because we've seen the Ravens give up crazy amount of yardage on punts, on kickoffs. And we got to make sure that, hey, okay, look, this particular unit on both sides of it, don't give up those particular short fields to teams and make teams drive the ball. And luckily, it hasn't really bit us in the butt when it comes down to the changing of the field or whatnot. But it has bit us in the butt when it comes down to missing extra points, missing field goal kicks and whatnot. So hopefully there's not a ton of pressure on Luke immediately right off the rip. Hopefully he can kind of say, hey, look, I can kind of grow into the position. He is a rookie. I don't know how he's going to travel on the road. I would imagine kicking at the bank probably wouldn't be too bad for him. I would imagine that he could come in and be as calm as he could possibly be, and then go from there. And to be honest with you, if you guys look at it, I'm not sitting here saying he's going to be on a Boswell level in the NFL, but what I am sitting here saying that this guy was just as accurate as Chris Boswell was in college. So that's the type of kicker we have that's coming in and replacing Justin Tucker. Um, Hopefully, he can pick up right where he left off early on in his career, not the later part of it. I got it. Some people still haven't got over last season. I'm over it. I look, Tucker. It is what it is. Hopefully, Tucker can make the best of his possible situation, and if he's able to play football again or whatever it may be, it's not up to me. It's up to him and some other people that's in charge of the NFL. Not me whatsoever. I wish him the best in life, but he's no longer a Raven, so I'm not going to be one of those guys that hey, I'm going to be rooting for Justin Tucker or any other former Ravens when they come to play the Ravens. If they don't play the Ravens, I may good job or attaboy or whatever it may be, and that's probably it. Nothing else from me. All right. So let me look and see you got any comments or anything. Okay, no comments. Cool. All right. So again, as we wind it down, right? If you haven't already, please like, share, comment, subscribe to the channel Raven Sitrep on YouTube. It's just going to help me out, grow the channel. Come out here and give you guys a lot more what I've been giving you. I'm gonna keep trying to build this particular channel. Therefore, you guys can kind of get it from me and not second and third hand, or either hey, you get it on a random tweet on Twitter or something like that. You can actually sit down and try and understand where I'm coming from when it comes down to some of the tweets, some of the messages and stuff that I put out on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. All right. So this last thing is we're gonna talk about is the salary cap. All right. So shout out to Brian for doing these things. Man, the guy is awesome. I love talking to him when he does respond to me on Twitter. Super knowledgeable guy. If you guys can't see this particular thing, the thing of what's going on with the Ravens salary cap as of 5/28, 2025. We have about $12 million in salary cap space. So I don't know what the details are of the latest signing of John Jenkins, the nose tackle from the Ravens. If he signed to a veteran type of contract, I would imagine the Ravens would do that and not overpay for him. I believe this opens the window for another move. We got two possible moves that I would like if the Ravens can make them happen. One would be add another pass rusher, even though we do not need it. I'm not sitting there saying we need it right now. I will be perfectly fine with going with what we got. But if we add another pass rusher, this is just going to help keep a rotation of edge rushers, not defensive tackle, edge rushers to carry us through the season to get constant pressure on the quarterback. Because as we've seen, there are certain games, whether it be the playoffs or regular season, we just let quarterbacks sit back and dice us up because we just can't get the pressure that we need to get on the quarterback. And I got it. We talk about sacks. We talk about pressures. We talk about all that good stuff. What I'm talking about, I want a defense to where it's like, hey, you know what? There's nothing you can do about this. This is what we're doing. What I'm talking about is, hey, we don't even have to get the sacks all the time. I just want to frustrate the heck out of your quarterback every time he gets back there and thinks he's going to do a 3-step drop or a 5-step drop. I want to basically move your quarterback every stinking time that we can possibly do it. And that's what I want when it comes down to our defense, our defensive line in particular. The reason for that is because I think we finally have nothing but opportunistic type of defensive backs, whether it be the safeties or the cornerbacks. And I just feel like, hey, if we can speed quarterbacks up, we can force them into throws. We force them into throwing into little windows. Our cornerbacks and our safeties will be there for the pickings. And if we can get those picks, now we're starting to look at pick sixes. We're starting to look at shorter fields. We're starting to look at capitalizing and closing out games sooner to where now Lamar Jackson doesn't have to play through the whole game. Same thing with Derrick Henry. And we can get those guys some reps in the game. And then now we can say, okay, look, remember I was telling you about getting Key Mitchell those 500 yards and 5 touchdowns. I was talking about, Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews getting their touchdowns. I was talking about Bateman and Zay getting their prep share. Now we can give guys like DeAndre Hopkins a couple of the share when it comes down to the passing touchdowns and whatnot. So I just feel like, hey, that starts with being able to pressure the opposing team quarterback at any given time we want, and then we can go from there. And I just feel like adding another pass rusher would do just that. The other thing that could happen is we could probably sign a veteran safety. Okay, we signed a veteran safety. The reason why I say a veteran safety because maybe they think Kane and Bo Brady, they may think those guys not ready, or they may say, hey, "Look, I want somebody to come in here and push you guys, right? Push you guys in this particular room to get better. To where now, if we sign this person for a 1 year deal, once that person leaves, his replacement is already there and got trained and coached up by a peer to where now, hey, we come into the season next year, that veteran is no longer on the team, and one of the young guys was able to step up, and then now it's a seamless transition, and the Ravens can make a good move coming into the next season in 2026. And who knows, that could be a Super Bowl type of defense by that particular time. So all right. So I'm gonna stay on here for probably about 2 minutes. See, I got a couple of y'all watching. See if y'all got any kind of questions or whatnot. And if you don't have any questions, I'm gonna go ahead and break camp, and then I'll talk to you guys sometime in the next one. The next one will probably be either next weekend or probably next Thursday. And I'll put up the topics and stuff like that of what we'll be talking about and what we'll go over. So if you don't have any questions, again, thank you guys again for all the support. We got about 15 people watching here right now. So again, thank you for that support. If you haven't already, please make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe, tell me I suck, or whatever it may be. You won't hurt my feelings. I'm not going to keep trying to do these things, but I got to know that, hey, it is worthwhile. It is reaching you guys, and you guys see the videos and you kind of like them, and you want me to keep doing them. Okay. All right. Until then, hey, again, thank you guys for all of your support, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.